foundation of our daily meals, calling for various degrees of skill and knowledge.
Used in the mixing center than for any other mixing operation.
A man called a mixer starts bread and beat.
You are now listening to the Bread and Beats Mix Show.
expressing truth, expressing beauty, expressing reality, and also expressing dreams and hopes.
7-inch record. 45. 45. 7-inch record.
Mixshow.
What's going on? Welcome to the Bread and Beats Mixshow, the only podcast dropping clean music and good news, but at the same time.
Yep.
I'm James, aka DJ Havcutz, and this is gonna be the first time I'm gonna introduce my main man, Brandon. Wow, that'll be the only time.
You put me out there.
AKA b.Side.
Yeah.
So what's going on, fam? How you doing?
I'm chilling, man. I'm kind of excited right now. I mean, I got this congestion, which is kind of whack, but we're going to work through it. But I'm excited because this is different for us.
Yeah, so again, the Mix Show, if you're familiar for our past subscribers and listeners and all that, we're changing it up a little bit, right?
Yeah.
So prior, to the Mix Show, we're just specifically answering Bible questions, and not a bad thing, obviously.
No, yeah, right.
But I think it was very specific, very pointed, very targeted. So I didn't know if we really got a full opportunity to just share what it is to just walk in faith.
Right. I feel like, when we were answering those questions, that's helpful information, and we're still going to deliver that just in a different way. But here, like on the Mix Show, like we really going to make it like about the Mix Show, where the music and, again, clean music, good news, putting those two things together, and what it looks like as a Christian, as a human being, you know what I'm saying, to do that stuff without a specific targeted, question that we got to answer verse by verse and all those other things.
Well, what's funny, as we were kind of talking, we never actually answered a question about music.
Right. That makes crazy.
Why that's a thing for us. So really why is it?
Well, what's funny is because we get that question all the time. As soon as people figure out that we came from music or we do music still or whatever the case is, cats are always like, so what music do you listen to? What do you think about this? And we never, how long we've been, this is going on our second, third year or whatever.
Right.
never answer that question. To me, that's kind of fun.
Well, again, even from like a pastoral perspective, right? Like, what's your pastor listening to? And I think that's funny because it would be interesting to really ask any pastor.
Right.
But I mean, you kind of acting as our senior pastor within the realms of the ministry.
I don't like that senior word.
Right. You know, what I think that brings that out, right?
Yeah, because music is one of those things where, I don't know, the church just makes a thing out of this.
It is, right?
And it's not a new thing. It has been, I mean, denominations have divided themselves on this principle. Churches have split over this stuff. In fact, I think it was not that long ago that our pastor from our church received almost kind of like a threat because of the music was offensive to. He did not like our drummer, our drummer's dope.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Like, our drummer gets down. And shout out to Jay, you know, but I mean, just infuriated by the music. And that led into some other things about the teaching there and all that. And it's just nonsense where people can have this perception that, you know, the style of music you listen to is indicative of your walk, which I don't know how you could possibly make that assessment because your walk is based on things of the heart. And while
I can't see
well, there
that,
should be some music that should just flat out should be off limits to a true believer.
Yeah, no, for sure.
Yeah, like, I mean, even with one playing right now, like, this is funky.
Right, it's nice.
There ain't a single word in it. So it's like, how are you making a judgment on someone's walk? Like, you just got this dude scatting in the back. And because, I mean, is he a believer? Is he a non-believer? Like, really? When I'm just grooving like this, who cares?
Well, I think
is my conduct and my attitude going to be Christian? Not as the song I'm listening to. Is that going to portray me as a Christian?
And also, too, I feel like now that really governs the direction of the church and kind of governs the direction of, in a sense, the secular realm, right?
Right.
And then how does that blend or work together? So I think of just even our introduction to ministry, you know, especially both of us coming really directly out of the music industry. You know what I mean? Like me doing A&R type work, obviously DJing, getting with you with production and things like that.
Right.
But then we get into the church realm, we bring our turntables, our DJ bags, our swag.
Right.
And now it's like, you guys can kind of be over there on the side.
Right. And it was kind of weird because we found that when we went to the side, there was already a group of people there.
Which was cool.
Yeah. But like, they were kind of a novelty too. So it's like, wait, over here, there's a bunch of B-boys and graph artists and other DJs and stuff. And that's cool. But how come y'all are way over here?
Right.
Like, when you guys do your events, like, yeah, I understand it's different than the church, but there wasn't really a whole lot of like real church support behind it. It's like, okay, that's cool for you guys. So you guys go over there.
Felt like there was always that, right?
It's weird because in a lot of ways that you hear people talk about like the race stuff, like you heard and saw a lot of the same treatment of people based on whatever musical taste they had. So it's like, if you were not in line with like from us here in Southern California, the contemporary
you can say it, you know what I mean, stuff like The Fish, you know what I'm saying, like,
you know what I'm saying?
Real.
If it was just that genre, if you didn't conform to that, or you branched outside of those boundaries, like people were kind of coming at you a little bit like, wait, you listen to other stuff? Like, and what's the question? Are they Christian?
Right. And that's
like,
crazy, right?
Right.
Like, what does it matter?
So it's like when you go to the market, do you buy produce from a Christian? No, you buy food because you need to eat. You know what I'm saying? Like, I guess it would be better if they were Christian. But look, the reality is, and Jesus said it, like, there's going to be more of the non-Christians than the Christians. And our job isn't to isolate from them and only do us with us, because then how do you fulfill the Great Commission? Right. How do you share with non-believers if Christians are just trying to push all the non-believers? Look, we can't be sinners.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? I mean, we can't, let me rephrase that. We can't practice sin, and we can't entertain ourselves by things that are just outright sinful, and that's not what we're saying. But like, let's be real about the situation too, you know? Well,
yeah, because I think that's what was kind of funny. You know, I mentioned to you, you know, earlier, you know, they were showing, I think I was watching like BET or something, and it had Sister Act 2. So we're gonna kind of age ourselves a little bit, but hey, we still fresh, you know what I'm saying?
Right.
But anyway, I thought it was funny how here's this Catholic school, right? Church,
right?
And here's in the urban community, right? And dude, what'd they hit? I mean, dude, you had the introduction of Lauryn Hill,
right?
Before Fugees,
right?
And you had hip hop.
Yeah, she was a little kid back then.
You had New Jack.
Yeah.
You had R&B, like all of that getting integrated into church music, but traditional church music, and it threw them all off. Eventually, you know, they dug it. You know what I'm saying? They actually won the contest.
Right.
So if you guys haven't seen Sister Act 2, go check it out.
It's only 100 years old.
Right?
You know?
But it got me thinking, you know, because again, even with us, right? Yeah. We've done music production for a long time. You've probably heard some of our production. Right. You'll continue to hear some of our production, whether in the background or feature sets and DJ and all that kind of stuff.
It's just part of what we do. Yeah.
So I was thinking, I was like, well, B, you know, I mean, even us being asked that as artists, I mean, I would refer us, Bread and Beats Music, as a Christian artist. Yeah. Because we're Christians.
Because we're believers. Yeah. Me and you.
But music-wise,
it's just music.
I would say, are we really doing like church music though?
Our music don't have words half the time. You know what I'm saying?
Like, so it got me thinking, right? It's like, okay,
what defines that?
Yeah, what defines it? Yeah. Who defines it? And it was hard to try to like.
You know, when you said who defines it, it had me thinking like, I would like to find that fellow. Because I'm confused.
Because like, you know, I think of some of the artists that have been Christian.
Sure.
And they put it out there.
Right.
But then they don't get the support, one, from the church.
Right.
And then they don't actually get support from, I guess, the secular realm that's going to buy the music.
Right.
Because they're Christian.
Right.
But it's like really good stuff.
Right.
But then the ones that now back up.
Right.
Hey, I'm a Christian. I'm just not going to put it out that my music's Christian.
Right.
And now the church says,
now this cat's like, you got weak faith. They won't put themselves. It's like, there's no win.
Right.
Yeah.
But again, I think going back to be able to see where like music-wise, especially when we kind of look at just the electronic music scene, right? I think that's where
we come from.
Yeah, I think that's where we get to bridge, you know, because you got to see, I mean, even just in our experience, right? Like when we were obviously going to festivals and things like that and performing at them and whatnot.
Yeah.
But look what we did. I mean, that's how we really got to integrate. I mean, we both have that kind of soulful roots just from our parents, you know, getting introduced to groups like, say, Earth, Wind, and Fire.
Right. The Commodores.
Commodores.
Barcades.
But then we also get some of that rock side of things. Right.
Yeah.
Even like a Led Zeppelin.
Yeah, my dad was a Led Zeppelin head.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Then everybody loved the Eagles back then.
You know? Right. So you kind of bring all that in.
Yeah.
But then now our 90s, being 90 kids, right?
Right.
What are we getting?
Yeah.
We start getting all the roots of hip hop.
Right.
Electronic music starts to really kind of have a presence. Grunge, punk, I mean, just all of that I still felt
so much music coming
was
out.
Still really counterculture, right? Like was still not the popular.
I think our generation definitely excelled in that.
Right.
We wanted to stick it to the man kind of thing.
Yeah,
you know what I'm saying?
And I think it really stirred the industry.
I can remember even as, you know, growing up in the rave scene out here in LA, that was the thing, you know, to where, I mean, why do we have so many genres that essentially describe what hip hop is? And it's funny because I heard an interview from Mark Farina the other day. It was an old interview from like 96.
Okay.
No, I'm sorry, it was 2001. And I'm way off there.
Yeah.
But his point was he was talking about his mushroom jazz stuff.
Right.
But he referred to it as lounge and down tempo. But we know that back then it was either acid jazz or hip hop. But why did he call it that? Because ravers hated hip hop, but they didn't. They hated the word hip hop and the culture that came with it because it was building up steam. It was kind of getting a lot of momentum. I mean, you remember back in the mid 90s to the late 90s and early 2000s, that's when hip hop, I mean, Tribe was kind of in their peak at that point, but then, you know, the tail end of gangster rap and those sorts of things and stuff started to hit mainstream media.
Right.
MTV started to get involved in that stuff. And it became like the culture behind the music changed to where it offended people and it offended us as the people who were part of the culture, and the music was kind of a secondary thing. That was our banner essentially. So ravers came out and said, screw you guys, you know, we're going in this route, you know, and we're not calling it hip hop anymore, even that's exactly what it was.
That's all it was. Still.
It was down tempo, you know, we're more sophisticated in our culture, you know, even though we party in you know, dirty warehouses and don't bathe for days on end.
Right.
But, you know, but that's kind of how it was. It was really about how the music was representative of the culture, and we came out of that generation of our parents where they really didn't like rules, and then we really didn't like rules, and music kind of spoke to that. And you got all, like you said, the grunge stuff, the gangster rap, and techno and house music.
Right. I feel like all that stuff really hit for us.
I mean, even like you think of just hip hop, but then there was like obviously mainstream, but like that indie hip hop movement really came in strong in those early 2000s, where like it was a thing. Spoken word was being put on main stages of like venues, you know what I'm saying? Like that stuff, it got really big. But again, like when you just examine the content of it, aside from whether it was Christian or non-Christian, like just what are people saying and what are they about? And is there any integrity behind any of it? But if you're going to make that examination about the secular side of things as a believer, shouldn't we also have a same discerning eye concerning the Christian things? And I think for me as a pastor, and I would say for both of us as DJs and full-time ministry workers, that's where the rub is. How the standards vary depending on what label comes first, because the label can kind of almost erase the culture in a sense. You know what I'm saying? Where if it's called Christian, you don't really have to be concerned with what the culture of Christianity is, so long as you hold up the label. And the same thing on the secular side. Well, if it's secular, then, but there, it's all about the culture. But on the other side, it's not. Because, dude, they're making documentaries and stuff about Christian music. You know what I'm saying? That you can see in a secular environment. And sure, every documentary is being portrayed with a skew, you know what I'm saying?
And again, I feel like music,
but it's not all gravy is the point.
And again, music is such a big part of like what we do. So like I think
it's a big part of what everyone
it's probably
does.
What just about everybody does. Like you hear music everywhere. You're going to the grocery store, they got beats going on in the back.
I mean, at least around here in SoCal, like everybody's got earbuds in 24/7.
I don't think they're listening to podcasts like this.
I mean,
hopefully they do, but
look, they just listen to music, whatever that music is. Like, it's obviously a thing that they're trying to tune out from the, whether that's the right thing or the wrong thing, it really isn't the point, because it's a reality. You know what I'm saying? So like a song like this is playing in the background. Like, I don't think that this is a Christian artist. I don't think that they intended to inspire biblical thinking when they wrote it. There are no words. I dig this song.
Yeah, it just sounds good.
I think it fits nice behind anything. You know what I'm saying? And that's what's cool about it. And I think the first time I heard this artist, I heard of him as background music on a photography video that I was watching. Why? Because it fit good there. Because just good music does that. So what difference does it make? And again, when you get to the stereotypes of, to answer your question, and I don't think I'm answering it, I think I'm just asking more questions, but like, what is Christian music and why does that matter? Now, I will say this, going back to the Sister Act thing, like what they were doing in that movie and what you see in a lot of churches is a show. And we are not speaking to that. Like, we are not at all suggesting that every church needs a DJ. You know what I'm saying?
Although it would be cool.
It would be interesting. And I think there's probably some out there who have tried it.
There's a place.
Right.
There's still a place for that.
So when we're talking about what is traditionally referred to as praise and worship, I think that's where there has to be some discernment and differentiation, right? Like if there's moments where you need to solemnly come to the Lord, and I think if there is going to be a soundtrack to that, it needs to be appropriate to that.
Yeah, I agree.
But I will say on the other hand, that where the Bible is filled with commands to praise the Lord, when you look at how like David praised the Lord, talking about, the instrumentation and things like that, and when you hear some of the traditional Hebrew melodies and the ways they sing, and look at like even the feast days and how they're partying. Now they party according to what's standard for their culture, but they having fun. They rejoicing, and they do it the way that's known to them. So that's another part of it, to where we have to kind of consider those things. It's like, look, I think the issue is like, as individuals that collectively are generalized as the church, like, do we have to be so hypercritical about such a non-essential issue? You know what I'm saying?
I feel like there's bigger issues. Like if you're asking me like what music I listen to,
and then judging my walk based on
that,
right?
Like we got all kinds of stuff going on.
Right. With the amount of false teaching going on in churches.
Right.
Should we maybe be more concerned about that?
And I think that's where it gets a little confusing, right? Because how many Christian artists have we heard that fell off?
Right.
Because of maybe their doctrine wasn't sound.
Right.
Maybe the words they were saying were actually not correct.
Right.
Maybe they were doing other things, like, you know what I mean? Like personal, like, and those artists aren't necessarily around or frowned upon if you say, oh, I'm playing this artist. Oh, you listen to them?
Right.
And it's just like, man, like what side?
Right.
Like how does that work?
And
right?
see, I think that's a common thing that I've experienced throughout the years of just being a believer, not just necessarily in ministry. And I think the challenge is what that shows is the severe lacking in compassion, mercy, and discipleship from the church. Because it makes me think of when Apollos in the Bible was instructed about like the ministry of John the Baptist, which was kind of like I'm not gonna say rudimentary, but it was certainly a beginning stages type of ministry where even, his point was to pass everyone on to Jesus to learn the fuller truth about who he was. And so when Apollos came through and was teaching, but didn't have a full understanding of the full truth, he was instructed and shown and discipled to understand the bigger picture, to equip him to know better and to be better. Right, and I feel like that's what's missing now.
Yeah.
Is where, okay, let's say, for example, someone says that like, oh yeah, I listen to so-and-so, and so-and-so is on that list of artists that you probably shouldn't be listening to as a believer. It's like, okay, but don't beat this person down and say, you're not a real Christian because, hey, let's show them a better way.
Right.
And then for the ones who maybe struggle with like the fact that we're playing these background beats right now, and they're not necessarily from Christian artists, so to speak, or at least ones that present themselves
that openly. Yeah, for sure.
Well, let's show people the places to go to find just good music, to find places that are just to teach people how to be human beings, but to teach them how to be Christian human beings, to live according to that holy and righteous standard, but not be so hypercritical about everybody and be so just harsh on people. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
Like,
and I think that's the hope here, right? For us as Bread and Beats Music, as the Bread and Beats Mix Show, it's again to be able to really adapt clean music in the right context, because I think clean music gets kind of skewed a bit, right? Because I used to, I'll give you an example, right? So there's always been radio versions of songs. All right, like I get my
radio
I get my single, right? I go to the record shop, get my single. I got the instrumental. I got the album version. I got maybe the acapella, hopefully, because I want to do some remixes with you. And then I got the radio version. Well, at the end of the day, the song is still the song. And I don't even need to bring up any songs. You guys understand.
I mean, think about this. I mean, the song that comes to mind as you say that is a song like Gin and Juice. Is there really a clean version of that song? Like, you know what I'm saying? Like,
it's still well, it's funny. I think that goes even into movies, right? Because if you play the movie on a regular TV station, like it's still
half the movie don't have dialogue anymore, or it's got some other voice. It's like, dude,
that's too funny.
Like if you're trying to watch a clean version of an old Joe Pesci movie, like you're really not getting a lot.
It's just not gonna work. But again, point being, right? So like with just how we're gonna be able to like curate music, really go through our crates, virtual crates, actual crates, all those kind of things, but to really seek out just truly good music, clean music, that you can be able to find a place to just rest, be able to consider the Lord, just process the day. I mean, all those things, right?
Yeah, because I mean, here's the thing: I mean, for me personally, like I just can't get into a lot of the contemporary and even Christian EDM type stuff. Like I just can't. And even when in my secular days before I was saved, like I just wasn't into that kind of, I wasn't the alternative music guy. Like I grew up in a neighborhood where like as a kid, P-Funk was the standard. You know what I'm saying? And it's just like, if it ain't funky, and there's some riffs you can play funky and some you don't, and it's got to be funky to me. And so if it's not, like, I'm just like, I'm not going to slam it, but I'm not going to bump it, you know? And I feel like there's probably one or two other people out there. I mean, here's one sitting right across from me, you know?
Right.
and there's probably 3 or 4 others at minimum that approach music that same way. You know what I'm saying? Like, I want drums that hit. Like, I want some grime to the sample. You know what I'm saying? I like the DJ flavor of scratching and things like that. And I just, these other guys just aren't bringing it for me. You know, even with the EDM stuff, like, so just so you guys know, you may not be aware of this, but there is a difference between EDM as a genre and electronic music as a description.
We're going to define some things.
Yeah,
here.
So you're learning something right now about music.
Teach them.
Right. So, see, not just a Bible teacher. I know some other stuff too. Not much more.
Right.
But EDM, like, that's not us. So if you make music suggestions to us and they fall within the category of EDM, thank you, but no thank you. Because that stuff, like, it's just kind of cheese ball. You know, there's a song I got. He says, like, bubbles and sprinkles. You know what I'm saying? Like, look, bubbles and sprinkles are cool for my kids. I do it a little different, you know? And so, but that's the thing. Like, there's way too much music out there for us to be so just confined to these borders that, again, who is this person or these people
defining this,
that are defining that for us? Like, why can't this, look, so many of you who have listened to this show or things that we've done throughout our years will hear a song like this, listen to us scratch the King James version of the audio Bible on top of it, and wonder where we got it from, what Christian store or what ministry. Hello?
Right.
We just took good music and put it scripture, and now all of a sudden it takes on a whole new light with the recontextualization of things. And it just goes to show what's possible if we maybe don't approach things with such a rigid mindset. Now, I say rigid, different than a biblically righteous mindset, right? Because, look, what we're doing here, you'd be hard-pressed to find scripture that says what we're doing is sinful. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
Now, I do believe and agree that there are certainly some genres of music or some artists and things that put people in a train of thought that isn't healthy.
Right.
Like, you know, almost like a PTSD type of thing. I get that too. There are just some songs or some artists where I listen to them, it's like, I got to turn them off because that song in particular may not be bad.
Yeah, right.
But it puts me in a place that just my mind I don't need to be in. And some of this music that we're playing may be that for some other people, and we get that. But again, we're not trying to save all of the church. We're not trying to serve all of the church. We're just trying to save and serve the people that the Lord would connect with us. And we believe that there is another ministry out there doing the same for another group, and another ministry doing the same with another group. And whatever the tools the Lord wants to use to bridge gaps and facilitate community and fellowship and relationships and those sorts of things to steer the mind out of worldliness into biblical thinking, by all means, you know what I'm saying? So I think one of the first things I heard when we first started doing the first podcast, the Proper Knowledge Mix Show, way back when, is someone came on and said, man, you guys remind me of like when David took Goliath's sword and used it to cut off his own head. I was like, how so? He's like, well, you're using a tool that was meant for one thing, and it was used against the people trying to do bad things with it. I was like, I like that.
Yeah, I remember that.
You know what I'm saying? And so, yeah, it's true that someone might have made this with bad intentions, but we're not using it that way. Just the same as people will take things that we do with good intentions and use it to recontextualize to make us sound like the bad guys. People are doing that to the church all day long right now. You know what I'm saying? And so music is one of those places where I think we need to be careful. Mm-hmm. You know, we got to slow our roll and chill out a little bit and just understand that, like, the generally accepted popular way of traditional church thinking is, one, certainly not the only way, and it definitely isn't the standard of the right way. Because, I mean, I don't know, I can remember Jesus saying some pretty brutal things about traditions in church, right? So if we're just going based off of tradition alone, that can put us in some pretty dangerous places, you know?
Right. So again, you know, we're going to explore every facet of the electronic music world and really kind of dive in there. So hopefully you guys will really enjoy that part as we kind of just share the music with you guys. And then the other piece, right? The good news, having these type of conversations to be able to just really show us just as we walk with the Lord. Right. We just are still real. We're still weird. We still think and do different things, but nonetheless. So what we're going to be able to do also that I'm excited to share, like we're going to be able to bring on some guests.
Yeah.
Right. So we're excited about that facet to be able to.
Because we're not the only ones doing stuff like this.
Yeah. So be able to blend some, bring some music artists in and DJs and such, and just some other ministry leaders and all that type of stuff as well. So that'll be the second piece, right?
Right.
of the good news.
Yeah, we got to get there. And see, here's the thing. If there's a final takeaway from this, I would say that hopefully we can just encourage and exhort you guys to be like, look, if you have listened to the show before, it's probably because you dig on some of the things that we dig on, not just, in terms of the word, but the things that we surround ourselves with also in terms of the culture. And it can be frustrating. You know what I'm saying? We've dealt with this frustration for years, and it's discouraging because it sometimes feels like there's, again, that rigidness of church culture, traditional church culture can really make you feel like you're doing it all wrong because you have these tastes in this kind of stuff, and you're not really trying to sin. You're just trying to get a good workout. You know what I'm saying? And you can't listen to acoustic guitar strumming, with some guy, traditional worship music isn't what gets you hype. Maybe you in high school and you need pregame music, you know what I'm saying? And that stuff, but you're a Christian. That stuff is hard, you know what I'm saying? And so look, we just want to encourage you that there's a lot of stuff out there. And while a lot of people can really be discouraging about your approach to those things, look to the word and only the word for your direction, because the standards of scripture will define what sin is and what sin isn't. So if people are telling you that your approach is sinful, but the word can't back that up, then look, in Jesus' name, do what you do for his glory, right? And keep yourself in check through the word, have your good brothers and sisters around you to make sure that what you're doing does not flow into sin, because we could be, deceitful within ourselves. But just understand that the world's too big for our, influences to be so limited.
Right.
And so the Lord's doing a lot of different things with a lot of different people, and it ain't all bad. And even if some of it is, he's in the business of turning what evil people intend for evil to use it for good, to save many people alive, right? Genesis 50:20. So that's what we're trying to do. And if this particular style ain't for you, look, we're going to try and encourage you to go find what is you. You know what I'm saying? In Jesus' name. If this is for you, like James said, we got a whole lot more coming. And I think the biggest issue is like, look, don't slam people on this stuff. If you are in a place in your walk where you can recognize, those things that we're talking about in the word, help people along. You know what I'm saying? Take up the command of discipleship, and instead of being so hypercritical about other people and what they're doing, you know what I'm saying? Like, let's raise up this next generation that doesn't know, you know what I'm saying? Teach them why EDM as a genre is horrible. But EDM as a description is great, and I'm joking, obviously, that's why we're laughing. But, to each his own in that sense. It's personal taste. And so if we can, like, keep the word, the focus, and all these other things be complementary and not be so rigid about them, I'm thinking that the church might look a little different. You know what I'm saying? That love that we're supposed to show one another might be a little more prevalent, a little more obvious, a little more helpful. You'd see a little less discouragement within the church, a little less segregation within the church, maybe even a little more involvement within the church. And just, I don't know, all around, it's easier to stack up the possibilities and opportunities for wins than losses here, right? Keep the word as the standard. Let everything else kind of settle itself out.
Amen. So thank you guys for tuning in and listening in. Make sure you guys jump on the socials, look us up, Bread and Beats Music. The tables are over there.
Yeah, man.
They're turned on.
I'm gonna play chunky too. You know what I'm saying? We talk about funky, chunky, like old school. I'm gonna get
so we'll let B go jump on the tables and close us out with a nice set. So until the next episode, grace and peace.
Peace out.
You are now listening to the Bread and Beats Mix Show.
somebody that you see?
Yeah, I'm seeing someone. Absolutely. Sure.
Electronic music.
one thing got off rhythmically, the whole universe would collapse.
but never give it away. then, let's hit it. Okay, then let's hit
Bread and Beats Mix Show.